And so just to come back to the misconception for a moment.
Yeah.
So if it is a misconception, when should brands, in your opinion, start to think about sound?
I honestly think from day one, when you're thinking creative and thinking strategy, like everyone will have a session where you'll sit down and be like, right, what's the starting point of this? What research do we need to do? What ideas have we already got?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I honestly don't know why it wouldn't be involved in that kind of conversation, because what I'd like to think is, like, a few years down the line, most creative directors won't be saying, let's start with a sound or let's start with a visual. It will just be like whatever ideas are coming out between the team, there will just be sound versions of ideas in the mix.
Yeah, and I think it's such an interesting tool for inspiration, because, you could be sitting there talking, you can be like, oh, hey, I've got these sketches. Like, what are we thinking about colors or visuals? And you'd be like, oh, cool, let's put this playlist on, or let's have some music on in the background. And somebody could say something, or it could be making you feel in a certain mood, or it could inspire a certain color to come into your head or whatever. And I think that's an interesting use of sound, as opposed to, well, we got to figure out what this sounds like right now, thinking, why don't we use sound to help push the project along, which arguably people will do anyway if they're in a studio or something and there's music going on in the background or whatever.
Yeah, I think we should tell people about demoitis. If you don't know the term demoitis, I don't know where it comes from. It's the word that we use. But to that point, I do think people consider sound enough to put a song in place for when they're doing, like a sketch of a TV campaign, or maybe a sketch of social media. But then the team will sit with that track so long. Then later on in the process, they'll start pitching it out. Let's say the advert gets filmed. We see it probably 9 times out of 10. By the time it arrives with us and they're like, we want a song, like, this is the reference. This is what we want it to sound like this.
Yeah.
They've edited the whole rough edit to that song. The director and the whole team are so ingrained with that song that realistically, no matter what we do, they want the song they've already put in place because they've heard it so many times. Yeah. It's like when you listen to a song on the radio and you go, this is awful. Why am I listening to this song? Like, turn the radio off. But actually, if you hear it 10 times in a row, you start to like the song. We've all been there. We've all got to that stage where you're like, oh, I do actually quite like it now.
I think it's 7 times scientifically proven that you need to be exposed to something before you actually start to, or before you can change your opinion on it.
So imagine if you've heard it 100 times.
Yeah, but okay, so now you've completely gone 180 degrees on the whole misconception, because what you're saying now is that if you think about sound too early, then you can get stuck on something.
Well, no, I guess what I'm saying,
and not be able to think outside of it. And like, also, I guess I would also counter that with, at what point when they were doing the mock-up did they even start to think about sound? Because if it takes you 2 months to do a mock-up, and then just before you send it out to people, or you're thinking about sound, then you put sound on, you're still thinking about sound quite late. Or is it a different, and just to throw one more in there before you jump in, or is it a different framing of how people are thinking about sound? Not like, oh, let's find a song. Maybe it needs to be like, let's figure out the tempo, the tone, the emotion, etc., that we want to be portrayed in this.
Exactly that.